Happy football season, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Today, Eric McLean, we are talking about the pack, baby.
Let's go.
NC State. I am not sure that we have lived in an offseason with more NC State hope and hype and legitimate, like when you look at their schedule, it all seems to be moving in a good direction for NC State, man.
Yeah. Well, let's just start off the top rope here. Give me that stat that you tweeted out a handful of weeks ago, whatever it was, that should set the stage and just everyone's mindset of where NC State is this year and what they should be able to do.
All right, Mac. There are 7 ACC teams that have a win total of 8 or more, 8.5 or more, should win 9 or more. And of those 7, NC State's one of them. Their win total at last check was 8.5.
Yep.
Of those 7 teams, NC State plays one of them, Clemson. They do have to play at Clemson, but still, they play one of them. That is crazy. It's all shaping up. It reminds me a little bit. I've seen some people talking about this on Twitter, a little bit of that Louisville schedule last year.
Oh, yeah.
Where maybe Louisville wasn't the second best team in the league. Maybe they were. But they were able to beat who they needed to beat to get to Charlotte. And perhaps that's where NC State could find themselves, Mac.
And see, here's the biggest difference to me. They have that schedule, and I think they legit could be, the first best team in the ACC when you look at talent. We're going to talk all about it with Coach Dave Doeren here. We're not going to give any more secrets. We'll talk more on the other side. Love this interview. Always, a pleasure to talk with Coach Doeren. So without further ado, quick message from our friends over at Ingles, and then Coach Doeren. Here we go.
At Ingles, we know your closest companions are the ones who are always there for you. The ones you trust to have your back, no matter what. Who make the hard times a little softer. And the good ones, somehow, a little better. That's what family is all about. Whether they walk on 2 legs or 4. Ingles, all the ingredients for family.
Coach Dave Doeren, welcome back to the podcast, brother. It's great to see you. You look fantastic. You're in your office. I know you want to be on the river, but we got to work. We got to go to work here. I do want to hear the fishing stories, though, because it's summertime. Have you had any yet? Do you have any down the road coming up?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. Been fly fishing twice up in the mountains near Boone and had some killer days up there, some browns and rainbows. And then we went offshore, me and my son Connor and a buddy of his, and we caught 5 blue marlin and a white marlin in one day, which is pretty epic, apparently. I didn't know it was that big a deal, but the guys on the boat were going crazy. And it was my son's first marlin catch, so, they had him jump off the bow of the boat, and we docked, and it was pretty cool to see. Those guys were excited. And I'm taking one of my players out Thursday to hopefully catch a bunch of bass in this guy's pond that he's bragging about, so... Yeah, you got to find time to get on the water, man. It's busy for sure, but you also need that self-care, and that's my best self-care there is. So.
No doubt, man. I love that, and I do have to ask you this because I know you're an avid angler and avid fisherman here. Tell me if this is bizarre, if this is normal. So my father-in-law's company, they went fishing a couple of weeks ago in the mountains, I think in Tennessee, and my father-in-law has fished a ton. He caught nothing all day long. There was a guy that had never fished before in his life and caught like 20 rainbows. I mean, is that just beginner's luck? Is that right spot, right time? What's the deal with that? I mean, this guy didn't even know what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, catching trout's about having the right fly on the line and presenting it the proper way to them. And obviously one guy was doing that and the other wasn't. But yeah, you can be a really good fisherman and strike out if you got the wrong thing on the end of your line.
Yeah.
Beginner's luck, Mac. I think that's what that was. Coach, exactly. You mentioned you're going fishing with one of your players. What does a player have to do to get on that level where he gets the fishing invite?
Yeah, he's got to be a baller, right? No.
So is it you taking KC? I'm guessing you're taking KC.
No, Jordan Waters and I.
Nice.
No, he's just been asking me since he got here. He loves to bass fish, and I've been trying to find a way to do it with him, and we got a date that works for both of us. So yeah, a lot of our guys go out. We send each other pictures of fish we catch, and yeah, it's not often I get to go with the players, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's really cool, Coach. Okay, so well, speaking of Jordan Waters, that goes well into our next question. You guys absolutely killed it in the portal in the off season. One of the best classes, I think that most people would agree on that. We know that high school recruiting is still a big lifeblood of your program. How do you balance that in this new world order? Because it feels like this year you guys really tried to make a splash in the portal.
Yeah, I think it's more need-based for us. I still prefer, growing guys up in our program from 18 to 22, and that's an emphasis for us. Last year we had an interesting team. We had our seniors that left, and we had several guys that were beat out by younger players that were in the program, for 3 or 4 years that just wanted to get on the field and take advantage of the portal that way. And, when a kid's been here that long and he's not playing the way that we all think he should be playing from a depth standpoint, we understand that. And so we just had more room, to go get some more guys. And there was holes in the roster because of, I guess you'd say, the departure of some older players, and that allowed us to be competitive. And our collective has done a great job making our NIL here competitive. And, kids want to know what guys on the team are getting. And so all those factors, play into it. We also had, a freshman, KC, that you mentioned, that stayed home instead of leaving, and had a lot of options to leave the state. And, one of the things we talk about is when you stay home, you have a chance to really help yourself. The state of North Carolina is going to support the in-state kids in a big way. And he was an All-American and Player of the Year as a freshman. And a lot of his friends went elsewhere and witnessed that and stood behind other players and didn't play. And I think, they wanted to come back and experience what he's experiencing. So we had a lot of guys that we didn't get the year before that came down to us and one other or two other schools that realized being home's better, and they came back, and so it was just kind of unique how that all played out, because we really we had the space for him, but it wasn't, thought out. It just kind of happened, to be honest. A couple of them said we're coming, and then all of them came together, and yeah, it was unique.
Unique for sure, and amazing. I mean, just the fact that it happened that way. And Coach, it felt like there was a run there where I was texting you every other day. My gosh, These guys just keep, rolling in there. And it's fun to see. And I think the homecoming thing, it even shows you more how important relationships are nowadays, because you never know. Even if you miss on a guy once, you never know when that, full circle moment might happen. And, never to have a bad taste in your mouth and keeping a relationship at foot, even if they make another decision, which I think is amazing. And we're going to talk about a handful of these guys because you just have so many impactful players. But, one guy that I just don't think, maybe on a super national level or whatever is getting enough credit is Grayson McCall, your quarterback. I mean, this is a guy that is an absolute freak. I love the way he plays. 10,000-yard passer, 88 touchdowns in his career. And, oh, by the way, he's just the 3-time reigning, Player of the Year at his previous conference. Why was he such a great fit for NC State, and why was NC State such a great fit for him?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better quarterback to come in here. Grayson's a leader. His confidence and humility, the way they match up, when he walks in the room, you can say that's a dude right there. Like, you can just feel his presence, and it's not cocky, but he's a winner. And when he gets going and competing, he just fits the DNA of NC State. He's a blue-collar, tough kid. He was under-recruited in high school, ran the veer in high school, and so nobody in the ACC recruited him. So he's got a big chip on his shoulder to show our league that he's more than good enough, that he's the best player in this league. And I'm excited for him. I'm really excited for him. I'm proud of him. He's done a great job stepping into the locker room and just being himself, being real, and being vulnerable with his teammates. He's very accurate as a thrower, more mobile probably than expected. I mean, we all knew he could run, but he's really comfortable running, not just as a play call, but, the way he can scramble to get yards or scramble to throw. And he's got so many reps. He's seen so much on the field. And the thing that I like the most about him, when you watch him in the big games, he plays his best football, and it's the same in practice when it becomes a scrimmage. he moves the ball. I mean, the guy knows how to get first downs and touchdowns, and he protects it.
And I mean, I think it's over a period of time, right? It's not like a guess. It's not like a one-off year. I mean, you have this proven, kind of success here. The thing you mentioned though about the reps, and that I brought up too with the stats and the yardage. How I know he's a quarterback, so it's a little bit different. He's very protected in practice, but how do you manage that? Just from a physical standpoint of, you've had some older guys that stuck around. I think of Peyton last year and the way you limited. Now, again, those are two very drastically different spots in regards to physicality in practice, but knowing that he has to, hey, get these reps to soak in what we do, but also, hey, we got to protect him and make sure he's good to go the whole way. What does that look like? Or is it, am I talking myself out of it? He's a quarterback. It's not really the same.
Well, it is easier at quarterback because they're not getting hit. And that's what you worry the most about is the contact when you're trying with Peyton, for example. But more with the quarterback, it's the arm. You have to be smart about the arm and how many throws is enough throws. You want to get him enough because the chemistry, the offense flows through the quarterback so that the guys around him, they're on the same page, and he has those banked reps with them because that's, even though he's played a lot, he hasn't played a lot with these guys. And so you got to get those reps in and then, developing the next guy is just as important as your starter. And so CJ Bailey's a freshman and he's a really talented young guy. And so we're making sure that he gets a lot too, because as you know, you're one play away from that guy being your guy. And we want CJ to be comfortable and ready.
Coach, I'm going to go a little off script here because you got me thinking, because I'm thinking back to, we did ACC Network live at the Lady Wolfpack game. They were playing Virginia Tech. It was epic. It had Grayson McCall on. We're talking to him. I'm thinking this guy fits. Like he's exactly what NC State needs. And then you think about what NC State's done this year. Yeah. 2 basketball teams in the Final Four. You have the baseball team in the College World Series. I've seen different tweets, like it's been the year of NC State in many respects. You guys have a great year. What has that meant for this program, for this athletic department, and how has it helped you guys maybe get that? It's still a massive brand, we know, but just the brand is everywhere, it seems.
Yeah, I think it's really emphasized the success that's been happening. Obviously, it puts it in another stratosphere when you're talking about all 4 sports that you mentioned being in postseason play. And that's not even bringing up what's going on with wrestling winning all these ACC championships and swimming and diving and our cross-country team national champions. There's a lot of good stuff. Luke Horrigan's done a great job as our athletic director. And but I think more than anything, you guys know this, perception is reality, and the Wolfpack emblem has been on ESPN more, and that matters. It matters. People are seeing it across sports, not just in football and basketball. So it's very relevant, the success that we're having. And I'm happy for the school. I'm happy for the other sports and coaches and players, and they've earned it. And I think that's the thing that NC State's most proud of is we believe in earn, not given. And we've earned that seat at the table in all these different sports. And what's cool is that they've all had to battle through some pretty tough stuff, just like we did last year to get to the end. It wasn't like we were front runners. We had to go beat a bunch of teams to solidify our place in these things. And so I'm excited, and we're just riding the wave right now, man. It's a huge, huge red wave that's flying through this place, and everybody's got the momentum together. It's cool.
The red wave, for sure, Coach. Okay, you alluded to this earlier, talking about Jordan, taking him out fishing. A guy like Hollywood Smothers, who I think is one of the guys you were talking about, went away to Oklahoma, comes back. He's a Charlotte kid. This running back room, I do not think people are talking about it enough. This is something that I think can take you guys to another level, that consistent running game. What do you expect from this running back room this year?
Yeah, it's deep. And Kendrick Raphael, who played well as a true freshman, has gained a bunch of weight and looks great. And we have a true freshman, Duke Scott, that was impressive, to say the least, this spring. And so we've got depth, we've got talent, and we have experience with Jordan, and he's really a good role model in that room. He's very about his business, matter of fact, does the right things on and off the field. And so he's helped Coach Goebel in that room immensely to show them what it looks like, because there's a lot of young guys in there behind them. But yeah, we need that. It's been a position that really has rotated a lot over the years since we had Bam Knight and Ricky Person. It's been a while since we had a room like this, and so we're excited to have that talent and competition in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, just proven commodities. I mean, that's what I think is so impressive by a lot of these additions, Coach, is there is little to no guesswork with these guys. We know what we're going to get. It's just going to be, what does it look like in red and black? And, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think one guy that we do know what he looks like in red and black, and we've alluded to him and touched on him a little bit already, but KC Concepcion was so special last year. I mean, the rarity of seeing a guy that young, that quickly, number one, produce the way he did, but number two, produce in the fact that it was a bunch of different ways. I mean, he's lining up all over the place. He's running the ball. He's catching the ball, throwing the ball, I'm sure. That's rare to see that. It's rare to be able to put that on such a young guy. But how has he gotten even better? How has he taken his game, to another level that we see this year where you're just like, again, how is this guy doing this?
Well, I think the biggest jump in his game is the physical part of learning how to recover. He's been in a college weight room now for a year. He looks better. He's definitely got an understanding of what it's like to have to sustain that long of a season now. And he's doing the right things off the field to take care of his body. And I think that's where you'll see a jump. His knowledge and feel for the game is very unique for a young guy. And none of us expected to put that weight on him his freshman year. I mean, that's how it played out. And to his credit, he accepted the challenge and did a great job. Our offense ran through one player last year after the bye week. We really just dug in at how many times can we get him the ball and how many ways. And we have more people around him now to help him, which doesn't diminish his role, but it allows us now to not allow a defense to pinpoint where he's at all the time with Dakari Collins and Noah Rogers, Wesley Grimes, our tight end, Justin Jolie, had a great spring, and then the running backs that you mentioned. So we can spread the ball around now more and take some of the pressure off of him, which will help him as well. Because, last year after a couple games, the whole team was pointing where he was at every snap. Not that they could stop him, but they still were focused on him in a different way. And so, he can throw, Eric. He's probably our third best thrower right now. I mean, the guy can sling it. Awesome. And, not that he can go back and read coverage and all that, but, he can really throw a football. So
two safeties or one safety. That's all we need to know, Coach. Two safeties or one safety.
It gives you some fun plays. And, Coach and he's always got stuff in the bag. So it's been a fun off season for him. We just went out and visited the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was amazing some of the stuff those guys do offensively just to get his wheels turning.
Wow. That's really interesting to hear. And I know, it may have been tougher on KC, but he didn't really show it, all that was put on him. And he was just so much fun to watch. When it comes to him, you mentioned the other guys that are going to take some pressure off of him. But when it comes to him, Coach, I know you've had some great freshmen in the past. Has anyone been like him where you just felt like you said, I mean, you basically started running the offense through this guy who's an 18-year-old kid. I mean, how unique was that for you?
Yeah, it's very unique. I mean, we've had some freshmen. Bo Hines, who's only with us 1 year, had a tremendous freshman year. That was my second year here. Jalen Samuels, J-Sam, had a really good freshman year, but not like KC, where he was the player of the year in the conference as a freshman. Yeah, he's definitely had the biggest impact on the offensive side of the ball for us that way.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see him. And as you mentioned, all those guys coming in too, just to be around them and other guys that, it's their turn to step up, that have been there. You mentioned Dakari Collins and guys of that nature that, again, I just think are so special at the wide receiver room, but it's going to be fun to see it all come together and maybe see the final form of this offense and what we can expect. We know how important the offensive line is. Love Coach Tujay, the way that he does it, the way that he brings that energy each and every day. It's a joy to see him coach, quite frankly, and what he brings to the table. But how have those guys been doing this off season, and what can we expect up front?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our O-line. Anthony Belton and Tim McKay came back and had a chance to leave early for the NFL, and they're developing nicely. Jacarius Peaks, really a guy that's worked hard in our offense and is getting bigger, and we need him to continue to do that. I think Zeke Correll joining us, the 30-game starter from Notre Dame, is a huge, huge get. We had Grant Gibson and Dylan McMahon, before that Garrett Bradbury. We've had a string of centers that have been really good players and great leaders. and Zeke steps in, and he's no different. You know, he's in command. He's got great confidence and volume in his voice, and he's seen a lot as a player. And so that O-line's gelling nicely. I think the backups are a really critical piece, as you know, because your 6th, 7th, and 8th guys are big on the O-line, and we feel really good about where that's going as well. There's a big competition at our left guard spot, and we've got 3 or 4 guys that are competing, and that'll be a big part of training camp to see where that ends up.
Coach, you know, it's tough for Mac and I, but we do need to talk defense. And we know Tony Gibson, he's going to have that defense ready. But I think the national narrative will be no Peyton Wilson, right?
Yeah.
With this, the staple of this defense for so many years is gone. How do you guys adjust to that? Who steps up from a leadership role? Just where's your mindset with losing Peyton, and where do you go from there?
Well, we've been one of the top defenses for 3 years, and, you know, Peyton wasn't always a part of that. You know, we had Isaiah Moore, we had Drake Thomas. I think there's just going to be other guys that step in and take over, and Sean Brown's a guy we've moved up to linebacker that'll be in that spot Peyton was in. That's a really good football player. Aiden White, you know, knock on wood, hasn't given up a touchdown in 2 years, and he's a lockdown corner. Brandon Cisse on the other side's a really good corner. We just added 3 players in the portal in the back end, and Jihad Carter was an All-American 2 years ago at Syracuse and comes in from Ohio State. Really talented, experienced guy that can help us in the secondary. And so, you know, we've got a lot of guys back. I think our back end is maybe as competitive as we've had. Davin Van is a force on the defensive line, and man, is he in a good spot. Like, I've never seen him like he is right now. He's really, really worked hard on himself and is leading, and he's going to be hard to block. Our defensive front is going to be really, really talented. So anytime you lose a good player, it's not one person, it's collectively getting better around the loss. And I think defensively, there's some spirit behind the lack of talk about them right now. I think they're enjoying how you're going to be good without Peyton. And that's who we are, you know, is trying to prove people wrong. So I think it feeds to our identity.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. It's kind of scary to think about a team, you know, a defense led by Tony Gibson that is feeling a little disrespected. That's going to be really fun to see that. And, you know, just talking about Coach Gibson, and again, I'm sure there's a ton of influence by yourself here as well, but just watching him call plays and watching him call defenses and schemes and fronts and all these different things, and the mad scientist kind of vibe around it. I mean, when that guy's in such a zone, how fun is that to watch for you when he's dialing it up and really just giving people fits?
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. You know, as a former defensive coordinator, Tony does a tremendous job, and he knows the scheme inside and out. He's been running it since 2002 and just has a lot of depth, you know, and recall and ability to adjust in game. He understands how he's going to be attacked if the offense does a good job, and he has the answers, you know. And so the chess game that he can play, he's on a different level because he knows what to do, and he knows how to set up what he wants to do, you know, from game to game based on what he showed and what he should show next. And he's an aggressive dude, and that fits the personality of our team, you know, and he does a great job from a chemistry standpoint with his players, his staff on his side of the ball. Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate, you know, to have such a good defensive coordinator, and Tony does a great job leading, you know, and so I'm excited, you know, for him. Just he's added a bunch of different parts, and now to see, like Robert, they got to figure out how to use all these different pieces, and that's the fun part of training camp, you know, is figuring out what you're going to do with the guys you have.
Well, Coach, you mentioned your coordinators there. We've got this new element this year in college football with iPads on the sidelines and coach-to-player communication in the helmets.
Yeah.
I assume that your coordinators will be very involved with that. How are you guys handling that as a program? How do you expect it to help?
Well, we used it all spring, headset communication, and so that was pretty seamless. You know, I felt like neither side really flinched on that. It was nice to be able to talk to them, not just about the play call, but, hey, it's 3rd and 2, you know, and, hey, we're in the red zone, just to give them some nuggets as you play, because sometimes the game gets fast and you forget where you're at situationally. The iPads are going to be interesting. I think, you know, the in-game adjustment piece is going to be immediate and more clear. You're relying on what you think you saw and information given from people upstairs or people on the field. Sometimes, hey, what'd you see?
Can't lie to you anymore, Coach. I can't tell you where the guy was. You're going to see it.
That happens. I don't think players make things up, but sometimes they don't see what they think they see,
Right.
And so now the in-game adjustments are going to be a lot cleaner. You're going to get precise, accurate, on-time information that you can make in-game adjustments. I think halftime, not that it's not important, but it becomes less of a correction period. And so that'll be interesting, I think, seeing what halftime looks like, because you're going to be pretty done with your corrections if you have a normal series on the field where you have time to talk to your guys and you'll be able to review things on film and clean up things and get guys probably playing better, faster, I would think. Sometimes there's things that happen. I know for me, when I was an assistant coach, if a player made a mistake and I didn't see it, and he repeated the mistake, I felt like I failed him in the game, and so a lot of that should be eliminated. You ought to be able to get guys corrected really quickly.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. I mean, there's so much change happening, and I think this one is a good one, and I can't just wait to see how it affects the overall product, speed of the game. I mean, will probably be sped up, and like you said, just a cleaner deal, because we know what's happening right now. It's going to be interesting to see just how everyone can handle that, because it is a lot to be able to watch film on the sideline and not be distracted at the same time. Looking at the schedule. I'm
going to tell you the other major change is the 2-minute warning, and that's going to be interesting to see how many coaches don't use that situation properly. I've spent a ton of time studying game management with the additional 2-minute break now, and it's a big change. People think it's just a 2-minute warning. It's not. It's an extra timeout each half. And how you use your timeouts, don't use your timeouts. There's going to be a lot of guys that screw it up. And so you guys will have seriously, it's going to be interesting just to see how that plays out.
It will be. And again, just so much change. But looking at the schedule, Coach, I think, obviously every game is important, and I know that, I've lived that. But there's some games that are a little different in the fact that you can write the narrative really quickly. And with you guys playing Tennessee so early in Charlotte, the expectations on that program, I mean, everywhere I look, I see that T involved in some type of playoff, some type of best offense, this and that and the other. How do you use something like that, or how do you see something like that as such a measuring stick for just where you are so early in the season, knowing that, hey, we have so much ahead of us, but this game is important for us to go fly this flag?
Yeah, I think you can't put too much into any game with your guys. I think you have to prepare them all the same. Nationally, it's going to happen to them anyway. Like, they're going to get all that. And so for me, I got to focus on the preparation of winning and how do we beat a team like Tennessee. It's going to be no different when we go play at Clemson. I mean, these are good opponents. It's going to be a neutral site for Tennessee, a visiting game for us when we go to Clemson. Like, those are really good opponents. And what are we going to do to win those games? Like, we got to dig into those things and make that what we're the masters of. And we're excited to play Tennessee in Charlotte. Coach Heupel does a great job. Offensively, they are dynamic and fast. And as you know, they're talented. So that's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited to play them and to be able to play them at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. It's a really cool thing for the program.
I know it's going to be a lot of red there. I know they're going to flood it, and it's going to be fun to see. Coach, we're jacked up for you. Can't wait to see this year. Big expectations, man, but I know you guys are ready, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have expectations for the program. We're excited. Like I said, we've earned it, but we also know that we got to go out on the field and get the thing going the right direction. And it's a fun team to coach. It's really a motivated football team that has a lot of momentum behind them, and they're excited about what's in front of them. So thank you for your time. It's always good to see you guys.
What's up, guys? As you can tell by the hats, the shirts, the logo, we've got a new partner, Underdog Fantasy plus Gramlich and Mac Lane. We are super excited. They sent us a bunch of swag. They sent us a bunch of tennis balls. KG, Sam has loved the tennis balls. I'm not sure what you've done with them. Maybe throwing them out. Jacob doing his thing, getting after it. But we are so excited. And just let me tell you a little bit about these guys. The favorite thing that I like is, number one, you've got fantasy drafts where a ton of people know how to do that. Check it out. They have a really great thing there. But then you can pick your favorite player higher, lower. And KG, you've already got into this for kind of a season-long deal. Can you tell the people a little insight on what you got there?
Well, I'm going to tell you about my most recent Pick'em entry, but Underdog Fantasy, it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I have it pulled up right here on my phone. It's so easy to download. We're going to give you a promo code in a second that you can use to start your journey here. But my most recent one, I did this before the start of the season, and this is called my ACC, Let's Go ACC pick, right? So these are positive right here. I've got KC Concepcion higher than 800.5 receiving yards for the season. Rondé Gadsden higher than 550.5 for the season receiving yards. And then Jaden Ott, the Cal running back, higher than 975.5 rushing yards. So if all three of those hit, boom, then I'm going to be feeling good on Underdog Fantasy. So I'm so excited about this partnership, Mac. I think this is a unique way to get involved with the game and to play fantasy sports. And like we said, download that app, check it out. It is the easiest place to play fantasy sports.
It really is. Very user-friendly. And again, all season long, we've been giving you picks for years. We've been pretty good. Well, now we finally get to put our money where our mouth is, and you can join us, okay? And we want to give you kind of a reward if you sign up and use our code GMPOD. That's GMPOD, all caps there. You have a special pick that you can claim. And then for first-time deposit, they will offer up to $250 in bonus cash. So if you put in $250, they're going to put in $250.
Ooh.
If you only put in $100, they'll put in $100. So we're giving you money, guys. You got to use our code. Sign in. This is going to be an awesome thing all year long. KG and I are going to be bringing you our picks. And if you look historically, you might want to listen to Kelly. She's a little bit better at the picks than I do. But we'll see. We'll see who makes the most money at the end of this thing. KG, I'm jacked up for it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cannot wait. Our code GMPOD, GMPOD. Sign up now. We'll put some links on social media and below in the description here on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. Join in on the fun today with Underdog Fantasy. Thanks again to Dave Doeren for joining us here on the podcast. Really is fun to talk with Coach. I feel like, I don't know, we've had him on a lot, but I feel like every time he gets a little more, open with us. And I know you and him have developed a really good relationship.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah. It's great. I enjoy talking.
We just need an invite to go fishing like Jordan Waters got. That's what we need.
I loved that story. That was really cool. Yeah. And just a cool vibe, right? Like to have a guy like Jordan Waters, who's of course one of these big transfers for NC State that we're going to talk about, but to have these older guys, like you can tell Dave Doeren really enjoys having these older guys that are just there to play football and, not get in trouble and maybe go fish like that. He really likes that. But of course he also likes having Concepcion, who's young, but pretty amazing. So let's get into this team, Mac. Last year, NC State goes 9-4, 6-2 in the ACC. They lose to K-State in the bowl game. They have a really good year considering their quarterback situation last season.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at their quarterback situation and all the drama and all that went down, they had no business winning 9 games, like absolutely no business. So that is an absolute credit to their culture and to Coach Doeren and everything. But this year, Mac, as you alluded to in our intro, this roster is loaded. It's one of the most talented in the ACC. I still think Miami has the most talented top to bottom roster in the ACC, but NC State is very close. Grayson McCall comes in. You think that's going to be pretty seamless, Mac? Oh, yeah. I think I'm just a little scarred from the Brennan Armstrong experience, but I do think it will go better. But they've got guys everywhere on this NC State roster.
Yeah, they really do. And, just to address the QB thing, and I get that, but I think that was, unfortunately more of a Brennan start.
Sure.
And we saw what he was at Virginia his last year, and a lot of that not on him, a lot of drop passes and things of that nature. Grayson, to me, coming from Coastal Carolina, where he has been the player of the year 3 straight years. They've won the championship probably every year. He got game day to come to Coastal Carolina. He's 10,000 plus passing yards, 88 plus touchdowns. He's just a dude, and he's a proven commodity year after year after year, KG. It's not like there's just this one, kind of off-put outlier of a statistical season for me. So that's kind of the thing. He's just consistent. Stuttering bad here tonight, guys. Sorry. I'm trying to get through it as it gets. And to me, the thing for him here in this situation is just go play point guard. Like you don't have to be, the Michael Jordan 50, 40 point scoring a night. You just got to get the ball out. You just got to be Magic Johnson, throwing the ball all around, or Chris Paul, kind of a North Carolina guy. I know he's Wake Forest, but where you're just a distributor, getting it to your playmakers. And quite frankly, I think he's going to be really excited and really successful in that role. And I think he can run it a little bit better than people realize or remember, just because this last year with the injury, the things that he had going on there. So he probably didn't run it a ton. I think if he can hurt people with his legs, just in moderation, just when you're not looking, like you go 2-man, drop everybody, or everybody's in coverage, and then whoop, here he goes, skates off for 20, 30-yard gain. That's where I think this offense will be at its pinnacle.
Well, and Mac, you bring me to the big question I think a lot of people have about NC State. And by the way, this is for NC State people. The reference you're looking for, Mac, is can he be a Reina Perez? Can he just get the hands of people who need it and win an ACC championship? NC State women's basketball fans will get that. But I think you bring up the big question, the big point with NC State, and Doeren even alluded to it. Can they run the ball better? I mean, that has been the thing that has held NC State back, arguably. They've had some really good years, but maybe held them back from that 10th win or beyond.
Yeah.
Can they run the ball better? That is my question, Mac. What say you on that?
Well, I think when you look at the roster additions, you have to think yes. Just because Jordan Waters, again, that's what a lot of these guys are that came into NC State. It's proven commodities. Like, I know what I'm getting from Jordan. I mean, he's an absolute freak. And then you have kind of, a spell back in Hollywood Smothers that is coming back home from Oklahoma. So you have a nice 1-2 punch there. But, I think it's just one of those things when you look at the offensive line, the guys they have coming back, the addition of Zeke Correll, you like it. You feel really good about it and what they're going to be able to do. And on top of having a quarterback that can run the football as well. So I think you just commit to it. I think that you bow your back up and say, hey, we trust this guy. He can make something out of nothing for sure. We had to see that against a bunch of teams with Duke last year and what Jordan was able to do, keep them and win them, a bunch of games. So to me, I think yes. And it is weird though, too, KG, that for whatever reason, the great backs that they've had, the year that they had 2, they still could not run the ball effectively. We've got to see that change this year. And I think we will. Yeah.
You do. And I would also, we saw this a bit last year too, like let's use Concepcion in whatever way you can, right? Run him, jet sweep, whatever it takes. He's special, Mac. And he's the kind of guy, when you look at the teams that can win a league and go on to a playoff, most of the time they have at least one of those guys, probably on both sides of the ball. But a guy like Concepcion that is just, you have to almost build your scouting report around him. Like you have to always know where he is. Not every team has one of those dudes, and NC State does with Concepcion.
Yeah, where's 10? Okay, when he lines up, we got to know where to go with the football, where we think the football is going. But the great thing about it, in particular this season, is they brought in other guys. Noah Rogers, former 5-star, comes back home from Ohio State. He was a guy that just was stuck in the depth chart rut and redshirted last year because Ohio State had 10 other first-round draft pick wide receivers that were going to play in front of him. Look at the spring game. I mean, Noah Rogers is that guy. I mean, he's going to immediately step up and show out and do some big things. You look at Joe Lee that came in, the talented tight end, kind of hybrid wide receiver. That is a mismatch problem. He's going to be able to come in and add some real depth. Wesley Grimes, or not depth, playmaking ability. Wesley Grimes from Wake Forest, I love that he's here in this offense and the things that he's going to be able to do. Of course, on top of some other guys that are there, have been waiting their turn and maybe are healthier and ready to go. But all of those guys, additionally, KG, should allow KC to flourish even more because you can't just double them. And if you do, there better be other guys screaming, wide open that we're able to find. And if you go cover 2 and have a 2 safety look and try to have, cloud coverage over the top, we better be able to run the football. And so, I think that all these additions are just going to help KC even more, not even just on the field with things, but the eternal pressure as well. Like for him last year, I'm sure it stacked up where he's like, I've got to do everything. And I'm sure it was fun. I'm sure he liked it.
He didn't show it though.
To
handle it the way he did as a freshman.
Well, in the sophomore slump, that's where you expect to see it. If it happens 2 years in a row, but because of all this, I don't think we will. And I think we'll see him even be a better wide receiver for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, NC State was without a doubt one of the winners of the portal in the ACC. When you look at NC State, Miami, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Louisville, of course, went out and got a bunch of players from the portal. Mac, I think when we talk about the defense at NC State, we always know there's a baseline of what the defense is going to be with Tony Gibson as the DC. This defense, though, losing Peyton Wilson, of course, and they did have 17 picks last year as a defense. I mean, they forced turnovers. I don't think your defense needs to be what it was last year. If this offense can be what we think it is, Mac, you're not going to be as reliant on your defense making crazy plays, having a pick six like Peyton Wilson did so many times. You're not going to be as reliant on that. But I still think this defense is going to be solid. And to me, that's what you need. That's really all you need. They could be better than that. We'll see, but they are losing a lot. I think this offense will be good enough.
Yeah, I think so too. And obviously we have Van as, kind of at the defensive end position. He's wearing number 1. We know how important and instrumental that is. Yeah. He's the alpha. I looked straight at, Grayson and asked him, who's the guy defensively? And without a beat, he hits me with Van and the things that, Davin's going to be able to bring to the table from an instrument, kind of standpoint. And I think even Coach Thunder said, his blood's in the bricks. Like, this dude's been here, done that, and is just one of the guys.
His blood is in the bricks.
You either been there a lot or you work really, really hard. One of the two, maybe a combination of both. So I think you have that up front, kind of solidifying that. Some other guys that are going to step up and, do their thing. But the biggest thing is going to be, how does Caden Fordham step up to replace Peyton Wilson? And that's hard, right? One of the best defensive, if not the best defensive player ever to play in that uniform and to represent NC State. Some big shoes to fill, but he's been waiting. His turn. He's a redshirt junior. He's been around. He's a guy that has been there, done that, and now it's his turn. I'm excited to see this defensive backfield. I think that Boykin is a stud. I think that Aiden White, Jihad Carter, who was an All-American at Syracuse and transferred to Ohio State, now back in the ACC. There's some guys. So this defense might look a little different where they specialize or where they are so good, but I think it's going to be a little bit of status quo, and this should easily be another top 5 defense for NC State.
Mac, when I look at the schedule, if I'm an NC State fan, I look at the schedule and I get like the hard eyes emojis just coming out of my eyes, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, of the top teams in the ACC, you only get Clemson. Like, that's it. Yeah. And you do have Tennessee.
Early. You get them early. You get them, in September.
Exactly. I mean, the September is interesting, right? You start with Western, you have Tennessee, La Tech, and then Clemson. So you have Tennessee and Clemson in the first month. That I get it. But after that, let's say you go 1-1 in those games, even just 1-1. After that, Mac, you should be favored in every game. Yeah. Maybe at North Carolina, we'll see how UNC is.
Right.
But you should be favored. Like, this is going to be a situation where, has NC State, can they take that next step where they don't lose kind of the game they're not supposed to?
Right.
And don't lose to, let's say, you go to Cal or something and mess up all the way out there.
To Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
House of Horrors.
But they should be favored in all these, Mac. Like, this schedule is nice.
Yeah, so it's 8.5. Where are you? You're going over? You like the over there?
I don't see how you can't. I don't see how you don't. I think 9-3.
Yeah.
With this schedule and this team, they went 9-3 last year, Mac, without a quarterback.
Right.
I mean, they had a bunch, but they either quit or like whatever. Like, they didn't have a quarterback.
Had to come back from the dead, reborn as a new guy.
Come back from the dead.
5-game win streak, baby.
I will say, Brennan did not quit. He stayed with them.
Never quit.
Give me
great
the
to
over,
see
Mac.
that. Yeah. Let me be super real with you here.
Oh.
These guys better sleepwalk to 10 wins for the second time in school history. I mean,
huge.
You've got to do it. This is the year. This is the year of the Wolfpack. Look at everything else NC State has done athletically. And you maybe you can argue you started it with 9 wins. That's great. But we got to put a big old exclamation point on this thing. And quite frankly, we need to go play Tennessee and kick their butt. Because that's going to be a team that's young, that has a new starting quarterback, and that defense has to feast. Okay? You've got to take advantage of that. The offense is experienced. You're at a neutral site. Come on, NC State. It's time. It's time to take that next step, to be serious. And I think that you have the pieces to do it. I do.
Okay.
I feel really good about this team.
I feel really good about them too. I feel really good. I honestly am not expecting them to beat both Tennessee and Clemson. Yeah. I think if you can go 1-1 in those games, then you're golden.
Yeah.
Because honestly, now if you want to win the ACC and make the playoff, you got to win.
Right.
But to get a 10-win season, if you go 1-1 in those games and then you maybe slip up once, like you're still 10-2, and you still maybe have a chance to play off. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this schedule,
if NC State does not get 10 wins this year, KG, I don't even know.
We should come up with a bet.
I'll be depressed. I will be depressed because it's just you'll never do it. If you don't do it this year, you'll never do it again. I mean, you talk about the stars aligning for this to happen. You better do it.
Yeah.
I think they will. Anyway, let's go. Come on.
Do it for Mac, please, because I don't want Mac to be depressed.
Please. I want to be happy. Happy. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Such a great episode. Thank you, Annabelle, for making this happen. And Coach Dave Doeren, always grateful for his time. And I think he's with me. I think that he thinks the same way that I do. We're going to make this happen. I know all these guys do. I think he will be depressed if they don't win to. Yeah, I'm sure he will. I will too. We'll be right there together. But anyway, appreciate all you guys tuning in. Pack fans, tell me if I need to cool out, chill out, relax. But I'm all in with the Pack, baby. We're going. This is the time to make it happen. So appreciate y'all always tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, jump in the comments, and of course the OGs over on Apple Podcasts as well. Rate, review, subscribe there. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.